the fast life meets the fast lane.
Yeah.
You're now tuned into Bars and Hoops Radio.
Yeah.
The world of hip-hop and sports live.
Dropping the clutch and then I hit the gas. Wheels screeching, tires burning, I'm flying past. Gotta get home quick, don't wanna miss the class. They schooling you on whips and how to make them fast. Talking about everything from cars to planes. What's hot, what's next, and how to flip the game. They talk in my language, we speak the same. That whip talk complex, but yet they keep it plain. From the news, the interviews, they keep it cool. They give reviews, everything from parts to tools. Can't lose, come to whips, they not no fools. Don't miss the show, the start time is noon. The bearded one, S.I. Sean, ain't crazy though. You can't miss it, tune in the Rally Radio.
Where the fast life meets the fast lane.
Woo, 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 woo. What's going on, y'all? It's the bearded one here. We in the building. Let's go. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You know how we get down, man. It's the bearded one here. We in the building. Let me tell you, man, it's been some great week this week. It has been a great week. I hope you're enjoying your great Saturday if you're in NYC. We talking about 60 degrees almost today. If you're working on them project cars, you better make it happen today because today is the day. It looks beautiful outside, but before we get into all of that, shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention from wherever you shopping from. Don't forget, drop a like, drop a comment so we can shout you out. We are in the building today. Got a lot to talk about today. Shout to my guy, Aaron Raw, in the building early. That's what I'm talking about. Shout to my guy, man. I'm going to tell you, I know y'all see the title up ahead. We got a lot more that we're going to talk about, but this right here is the cold start. Definitely want to talk about this today. It looks like Nissan has officially killed the GTR. It's officially over with. It looks like Nissan has finally closed the book. And I think that's crazy that they closing the book on this car, but I understand that they looking at a lot of other big problems right now. But first, before we get into all of that, like I said, shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. Don't forget, drop a like, drop a comment so we can shout you out. Nissan is closing the door on the R35 after 18 years. And it's in Japan so far right now, so we already know it's coming here too. But the R35 GTR has officially been put out to pasture. And they've taken their last bit of orders. They closed the book. So now it just makes you wonder, like, what's next for Nissan? What's next for the GTR? I think we all thinking the same thing when we hear that. We thinking that it's going to be electrification. And I don't think we're wrong either. I think that that's what's going to happen. The next GTR that we see is either going to be, I believe, a hybrid or fully electric. And I'm not looking forward to either one of them. But I will say that the R35, and the thing is here, can we even rate them? Let's rate them at this point. You had the R32, 33, 34, and 35. Which one do you think was the best one? And that, I believe, is always up for debate. Shout out to my guy, Mr. 2J in the building. You already know what it is. When I think about the R35 GTR, I think about when it first came out. And when it first came out, the biggest thing surrounding this car was the fact that it was not manual. So I believe that's where it's going to lose as far as the R34, R33, and R32 is involved or whatever. But the R35 GTR is just one heck of a car. To me, it took the streets by storm. And after it hit the streets, it was on. You started to see countless races they was winning. And my thing is, you started to see people really tuning them. Like before, I think the VQ 3.8 liter that they had in there, or it was like, to me, it was, since it was so much different than the RB that came in the earlier 34 and 33 and 32, it's like, I think a lot of people was probably at first nervous about it. I remember the first time I seen one at a drag strip. We went to Englishtown. And as we was in Englishtown, you know, we see one coming to the burnout box. And I'm saying to myself, this thing all-wheel drive, but he takes it into the burnout box. And as soon as he goes to drop the hammer on this R35, he revs it, he drops it, and next thing you know, the whole car shuts off. They had to push the car to the side. They had to push it to the side because it had broke. And I think that's when I had first had my real speculation that the car probably is not as durable as a 34 or 33. But however, it was something that Nissan ended up fixing. It has something to do with the rev, with the with the match rev system or something to that effect, where it won't let you go that high in the RPM and just throw it into drive. Unfortunately, that's how a lot of these automatic drivers got to do this. Hate to say it, but it is what it is. Like I said, shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. We in the building. So that was one of the recall, I believe, on one of the first R35s. But after they got a hold of that, you never really heard a lot of other issues out of them. As far as the motors, the engines themselves were stout. They were twin turbo 6, and this is one of the reasons why, like I said, we're looking forward, or I want to see what Dodge is able to pull off with this inline 6 twin turbo Hurricane engine that they're doing. But getting back to the GTR, shout to my cuz Clarence. What's going on, kid? See him in the building early. Let's go. Don't forget, drop a like, drop a comment so we can shout you out. I will say the R35 to me, out of all of them, I want to say the R35 to me is probably second. R33, I always felt like the R32 was more business. Like it wasn't really into to looking pretty on the street, and it was a strictly drag. I remember HKS had an R32 drag car, and I mean that thing was about it. But getting back to the R35, shout to Nissan. They said, we have received many orders for the Nissan GTR, and we have now finished accepting orders for the planned production quantity. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to our customers for their patronage over the years since its release in 2007. And I got to say, it has definitely been one of those kind of cars, a very iconic car. You can't walk away from it. When you see them, especially when you get inside of one, and you like really see how fast they are. And we had known them as supercar killers. In the earlier videos, you would see them going up against Lamborghinis, Galados at that time. You would see them going up against Vipers, Vets, whatever it was, that Porsches, Ferraris. You would see an R35 either going up against it and holding a tight race and sometimes winning. You know what I mean? Shout out to Aaron Roy, said, never got into the R35 for the simple fact that it didn't have gears, 18 years and not one. That's a fact. I always said that's been the biggest knock on the R35 is that it wasn't manual. And I remember watching them build one. They had a build series on Discovery Channel, and they went into the factory of how they was building the R35. And they explained why it wasn't manual. And it was a weird thing. It's like they obviously have the diffs and the transmission. So I believe the transmission is towards the front, and then they had the diff in the rear, but they was doing it for weight balance. So it was like a weird thing. Like they was using it like they wanted to make it balanced, but they just said we're gonna have to forego manual. Shout to my guy Seneca in the building early. You already know what it is. And I feel like that kind of, I wouldn't say it hurt the sales because people bought them anyway. And like I said, they dominated the track. It is what it is. However, to take away from that driving experience, not having that manual did hurt them. However, as far as, like I said, the driving experience goes, I believe it still was probably one of the better, and I don't normally say this, but one of the better automatic cars, or at least the way it was built. The dual clutch transmission cars. But at the end of the day, outside of that, it had so many different perks to it. I remember watching them build it, and I forget his name, the guy who actually was responsible for the GTR. And he talked about how car design tells you who the car is designed for. And I thought that was interesting. He said, you get a car with bubbly designs and stuff like that. He said, that's more of a female car. And I was like, wow. Like he said, but when you look at the GTR, you look at the back of the car, look at the front of the car, it looks strong, it looks robust. He said, this is a male. And it's funny because he's saying it obviously in Japanese, and I'm watching, like I'm reading it on the screen. I'm just like, that's a different take. I never heard nobody that designs a car look at it like that. Like, well, cause this is bubbly and soft and, little flowing lines. This one's more for a girl, but this one with the bulky rear wheels and he said, this one is male. And I was like, yo, this guy is actually putting sexes on the cars. It's actually hilarious. Nothing I had never seen before, but it was very interesting. But after they designed the GTR, they talked about how the engines were hand built. That was another thing. The engines were hand built in Nissan. It's not like they went down the line like most of all the other cars. It was hand built. They showed the guys that build the engines for the GTRs like a room full of them, and they was just walking around, and they took so much pride in building the engine for the GTR R35 that they said that when they go out to clubs and stuff, that's what I said, Japan is a crazy place. I can't wait to go. He said that when he went out to clubs, his pickup line for girls was, I make GTR engines. I mean, I get it. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but it's crazy that he was using that for a pickup line. Shout to my guy, SP the Dawn, here in the building early. You already know what it is. Shout to Mr. 2J. He said, I remember seeing them on the street for the first time. Was experience like none other. Facts. And if you look at the our intro, that's actually I believe we was at a sevens night, a sevens day. And we had ran around the RX-7s all night, and this GTR came through there, and it looked like he was prowling, like he was looking for victims. And I remember taping it, and I was like, everybody, it was a loud night. It was all in downtown Manhattan, and it just got quiet when that GTR came through. And that's why I ended up using it in our intro video. When you check out our intro video, there's the GTR just creeping through the street. And that was the reason I remember taping it, because everybody was like, oh, like they ain't want no problems. Shout to my guy, Tory Mackey, was good. What's going on, my brother? I will say, GTR, Nissan GTR, long live Godzilla. That is also the nickname for the GTR, if you didn't know. But long live Godzilla. This car to me still was iconic in many ways. To me, it just showed how dominant the GTR was. It was like the GTR was the end-all be-all. Like, you have very few cars that could go up against this car, stock for stock, or even tuned. You have very few of them, Shout to SP. He said Nissan GTR, the last Nissan that isn't a Nissan. I mean, you could put this car up against a lot of different cars. I remember before I was having this conversation about how Nissan they brought in a Porsche 959 to look at the all-wheel drive system and actually mirrored it to put it on the GTR, which is what a lot of these car companies do. A lot of these car companies, they'll take another car and they will look at it. Like when Corvette did it for the 458, they brought the 458. They wanted to look at the flat plane crank V8, and they said, you know what, we want to make sure that we could do this, and they did it, and they ended up graphing behind it. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. Don't forget, drop a like, drop a comment so we can shout you out. With that being said, man, Nissan GTR is out the pasture. You already know the price has already jumped up $20,000 just because of that. Because now, and that's another thing too. Just the fact that it was the first and only GTR we ever got in America was another reason why they flew off the shelves. Like, that's like with the FK8, the Type R. We had heard so much about a Type R outside of the Acura Integra Type R. It was the first one to ever grace our waters. That's why I was like, yo, you know what? If I can't get this Hellcat, I'm definitely getting me a Civic Type R. And I believe at the end of the day, it was the better purchase. I believe it really was. As I said, at the end of the day, I don't know if I would be able to even hold on to that Hellcat like that, because the way that they stealing them at this astronomical rate, I don't know. I might have came outside and caught somebody in my Hellcat, and it'd have been a problem. So I will say, at the end of the day, shout to Nissan for building such an animal, and I think this is signaling the end of cars like this. I really do. Outside of like Aston Martin and cars that are astronomically priced high that we could never really afford unless we like got 2 and 3 businesses or whatever have you. As far as being a car that we all could afford, the Nissan GTR, I believe this signals that a lot of that is coming to an end. Outside of like subcompact or something of that nature, 40, 50,000 you'll spend here and there. But as far as something with this kind of performance for that price, I don't know if it's going to happen. Shout out to my guy, SP the Don. Said, absolutely love the GTR. It is the embodiment of automobile history and the formula for a solid future. Nissan got one right, and now will be all but a memory. That's a fact. Shout to my guy, SP. So eloquently put. But that's what it is. It was one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest cars we'll ever see. The only knock was that it was not manual. And that just goes to show that despite that, it still was a great car to a lot of tuners and to a lot of driving enthusiasts. Even if you didn't like the fact that it didn't come manual, you still love the drive. But could you imagine the experience that it would be to drive it manual? Shout to my guy Tory Mackey. He said, fire. I know. It's one of my favorites. One of those kind of cars that I wish I could have got my hand on. But shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You know how we get down, man. That's our cold start. We starting this show off right. You know how we get down, man. It's the bearded one in the building. I want to shout everybody who's tuned in, rocking with us, paying attention. Appreciate y'all greatly. With that being said, man, it has been one heck of a week. It's a lot of things going on out here. And one of them in particular that we're going to get into when we jump into this weekly specs is going to be the plans for congestion pricing. This looks like it's going the other way quick, and it looks like we're going to get a chance to see. But with that being said, let's jump right into this weekly specs.
Weekly specs. Auto news for all the listeners, only on Rally Radio.
All right, you already know what it is, man. Weekly specs, we in the building. Let's go. This is going to get good over here. So it looks like after getting congestion pricing, it looks like now the New York City DOT's plan is to cut the amount of lanes in Manhattan. This is what I mean. You always know it's never going to stop here. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You know how we get down. Let's get a little music going here. You know how we get down here, man. With that being said, like I said, car-hating NYC bureaucrats, as per the New York Post, quietly making congestion worse with plan to cut vehicle lanes. Now, this is crazy. Governor Hochul claims congestion pricing reduces traffic in Manhattan, but rather than enjoy that purported benefits, car-hating city bureaucrats are quietly taking steps to make traffic worse. It looks like the Department of Transportation is actually going to kill. They're gonna actually make the bike lanes bigger, if that's not already been a crazy issue. They're gonna make the bike lanes bigger. So now a bike lane in New York City is now 6 feet wide. They plan to make it 10 feet. And when they make it 10 feet, they're gonna get rid of a lane on the road. So now instead of a lot of these New York City roads being 4 lanes, they're gonna be 3. And I believe that makes a big difference in your congestion, because now it's like they squeezing the cars tighter. So now it's less room. And just to the point where they say that congestion pricing is working. We talked about this last week. Congestion pricing made $50 million. And yes, the Trump organization or Trump administration has already told them that they need to cancel it by March 21st, but they made $50 million. There's no way they canceling that. It is what it is. It's going to be here. Whether they got to drop the price or however this administration plans on handling it, it's going to be here. They're going to fight to keep it. It made $50 million, and it did drop traffic as well. They're not trying to hear it, but it looks like they're going to turn this thing. It's going to make a bigger bike lane. It's like, why? Shout out to my guy, Mr. 2J. He said, at that point, just add bike lane on the highway. They talking about they adding another, 26 miles of bike lane through the city and through Queens. I'm like, wow. Like, I don't even know, do we have that kind of space? Shout out to SV. Say, yo, who's running the city for real? They keep it up. This next time this year, the city will look like it did during the pandemic. That's a fact. Gonna be less people in the building. Let's go. Shout to we got a caller. Rally Radio, who we got in the box?
Yo, it's your boy Big J in the building.
Shout to Jay. What's going on, Jay?
Nothing much. Just here on the job, ready to kind of work on this ISF later on.
Oh boy, what we getting done today? What's going on?
Finally getting an oil change done on this thing, man.
Do
It's been needed for a good minute.
you do them yourself? You do the oil changes?
Oh, of course.
I was having this debate the other day with somebody at the job. They was like, just because I like performance cars, but I don't like to work on them, does that make me less of an enthusiast? What's your thoughts on that? Do you believe that if you don't work on your car, that you're not an enthusiast?
It depends. Like, okay, if you're doing something basic, like basic add-ons, yeah, no problem. But if you're doing something heavier where you actually have to swap the headers or you add a turbo manifold, you're adding turbos to your car or doing things that very clearly you need an actual shop. You need machine shop, I'm sorry, machine tools.
Right.
I'm sorry, shop tools. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Shop. If you need shop tools and you need to go into a shop, it never hurts to get help. Honestly.
Right.
Like I'm a big believer of if I physically cannot do it, I'm taking it to someone who has, who is way better at it than me. Because at least, hey, look, measure twice, cut once.
That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Like I don't believe in that. Although here's the thing, because like there was a particular YouTuber who's done this where like he'll flex on a very particular build he has,
right,
but he's never touched the build. But then everyone will kind of glaze him up to be like, "Oh man, that's some hard work done." I'm like, he's never touched his car,
but
he's never touched any of his cars.
But here's the question though, and shout to my guy Tiny, shout to my guy Tiny for tuning in. Already know what it is. I will say, when it comes down to working on a car, like right now, I worked on my Type R and I changed the oil on it. The skid plate fell. I changed the brakes.
I hate that.
Yo, and I mean, it fell at the most inopportune time. And I mean, I put this thing back on with strength when I put it on. I don't even know why it came out, but that's another thing. I had to buy another one. Change the brakes, the rear brakes on the Type R, and it looks like I may have loosened one of the connectors. So now it's like, even though it's like the electric parking brake will not apply, but it's not on. So it's just a weird thing. And Honda tried to go in my pockets for that. But I will say, however, if you work on your car, I believe that you don't beat your car up as much either. I will say that. I will say that.
Because I've beaten my car a good amount of times. Like right now, I am actually in need of a wheel bearing. Don't judge me, but I'm in need of a wheel bearing right now, and I will eventually get that replaced before it gets a little too hot out. So
right, I will. But you know what? You know what I will say though, like when it comes to like stuff like wheel bearings, like I'm gonna be honest with you, at that point, I don't know if I'm like usually I don't tackle brakes. Because I like to have somebody to blame if something go wrong. But I said, you know what? I'm going to try it this time around. And I did. It's not like I've never done it before, but this electric parking brake that a lot of these cars have now, I'm never doing it again.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with some of that stuff because all it takes, like, good example, like I learned that, for example, if for BMW, if you don't put the wear sensor back on the BMW, the car doesn't cut on.
That's crazy. And see, that's what I mean about getting involved in these electronics, man. It's like I just can't understand it. Like it's stuff like that. Like I said, just the electric parking brake. It's like please release the parking brake. It's like it sucks. I don't know. It just really sucks. I feel like that kind of stuff drives me up the wall. Shout to SP. He said he had to take the whole front end off his S4 to put needed intercooler and belts. Now I baby the car. New intercooler and belts. Yeah.
That, like, listen, I'll say right now, God bless that man, because the amount of unnecessary bolts that Audi's got on them. Oh man. So, may the force be with you.
With that being said, what's your thoughts on this GTR coming to an end after 18 years? What's your thoughts?
You know what? I'm going to hot take. I love the GTR. Look, when I first seen them on the roads, I lost my mind on them. Till this day, is it up there as dream cars to get? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that car, 18 years, you should have been at least 10 years in, and it went on 10 years too long.
even for the climate that we in right now. See, I've heard that argument before, like, oh, they've been around and the technology fell behind, but they still was competing. I will say this though, I believe that the GTR, like, even though it did stick around with the same body style, we've seen cars do the same thing. We've seen Challengers and Chargers do the same thing. They stuck around with that body style forever, and they could have let that one go. But the GTR, and I believe it came at a time where we thought it was the greatest time ever for performance cars. But by the time that they started doing the cash for clunkers, it's like the writing was on the wall. And I think that's why Nissan didn't bother, because they're like, if we spend all this money on R&D and build another car, and then let's say it doesn't meet economy standards, and not economy emission standards, and now they don't want to let us sell it. I believe that's where why a lot of those cars at that time either stayed the way they looked or they wiped them off the board itself. You know what I mean?
I feel you on that, but I mean, you know what? So honestly, though, it's so okay. To go to the whole point of the Challenger thing, that's an old body style. Like, that's an E-class body style. So that's been around since the dawn of time, almost.
Yes.
In a sense, the thing is though, like, the reason why it works for those, well, for the Challenger, for example, is because it's at least it's aesthetic.
Yes,
that's the aesthetic that it's going for. The GTR, for the most part, if you ever driven in one, the best way to describe it, it feels like a really big Infinity. It really does. It feels like a big Infinity G37. But I mean, again, that's just sort of my opinion about it.
So what about as far as the power or the handling? Did it feel like it was? Because I feel like first and foremost, like I got an M35, and I feel like handling wise, stock it could be sloppy. Is that how a GTR, like you would say, a G37 handles better? But is that really, was it a better car?
Oh, was it a better car? See, that comes down to preference at that point in time. The reason why I say it feels like a big G37 is because, I mean, aside from the materials, that's just kind of like the best, like my frame of reference, and everything. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like why I'm saying that. Now, in terms of just, I mean, I'm saying that in terms of just driving it around town, it just feels like a really fast G37. But in terms of like performance on the highway, on the track, oh, that's a whole different ballgame, basically.
Shout to Erica Marie, she tuned in. Shout to my guy Tiny once again. And shout to Jessica Grandy tuned in as usual. We appreciate her. What's going on?
Yo, but like, I feel like what killed it also was the fact that, 18 years is great, but you got to think within the maybe like 10 years in, they probably could have made the 37. The R37 or 36, I should say.
Okay.
At least that's just sort of my thing, because I do understand what you're talking about. Like, if they did another cash for clunkers, God forbid, but I mean, that's just sort of the risk that, manufacturers have to take. I do get it's cost effective.
I think at the end of the day, they knew they wasn't gonna build, or that they wasn't sure if this body would be able to stick around that long. And I think that's what happened. And then I start to look at Nissan having a financial woes the way they did. So it's like, that's probably another reason why they didn't bother to build this, because they was already, they maxed out the credit cards type thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, I guarantee you they dumped several years of budget into that car and just said, look, we're broke. Let's just hope we sell a lot of Ultimas to make this up.
Yep. And I will say that right there says a lot in itself. Like, it's like they kept it going as long as they could. But now with emissions, and we're not just talking about the United States either, we're talking worldwide, EU, Europe, and it's just like a crazy thing. It's like, now when you look into it, it's like I guess it's fitting to kill off the GTR. You know what I mean? Shout to SP, said if Nissan stuck to their heritage, they wouldn't be in the situation they are in now. I don't know, man. They had bad leadership. It's a combination of terrible leadership and just, no type of regulation with how they allocate cars. Because, I mean, for the longest, and even till now, Right.
they still dealers will still mark up a bunch of cars.
Oh yeah, and
the Nissan Zeek is like that's a unicorn. Good luck finding that one.
And let me tell you, any GTR that's in the dealership parking lot right now is being marked up as we speak.
Absolutely. They're probably still like, hey, look, there's no more GTRs. We're gonna add an extra 10K to this damn low, like 5-year-old car. Yeah. Like, are you crazy?
You already know that's how they get down. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. With that being said, Jay, you got any shout outs you want to give, kid?
A couple of shout outs. Well, first, before I give any shout outs, wanted to also add to your point of the congestion tax, the congestion pricing.
First
off, I'm going to say right now, that's petty. Yo, they were petty. They said, hey, you know what? We're going to artificially create some traffic, and we're going to give a whole bike lane to, like, the cyclists. So, you know, I feel like coming up on the conduit, that's going to be a whole bike path in itself.
Oh, yeah.
But,
yeah.
You know, and for them to say, oh, we made 50 million, it's like, yeah, y'all robbed people of 50 million and put it on the news like that's a flex.
And that was 1 month. And my thing is now, when it comes down to the congestion pricing thing, it's like I said, now that they made money off of it, that's like the speed cameras. Now that they done made money off of it, you notice that. Have you noticed that there's been a lot of other accidents and stuff like that, and these speed cameras haven't stopped it at one point? Like,
of course,
it's been more, regardless of the fact that they got cameras.
Now you get your accidents in 4K.
Right. Look at this one with the firefighter, the drunk firefighter that ran into the 23 or 24-year-old kid that was on his way to work at 4 a.m. Did a speed camera stop him? No.
Nope.
And that's the thing. It's like, are they like, if you're gonna enforce on the people who are getting these doing these things, getting these tickets, but that's why the speed cameras seem like even more of a money grab.
Give me your fucking money.
And they know that we look at it that way because at the end of the day, you're getting somebody that's driving every day to work. What about we want the reckless drivers? We want the reckless drivers, and it's like they just don't even care about that. They like, yo, you know what? It is what it is. We're gonna find everybody. So. And like I told them, you know, this, and it says so, you know, even in this post article, that they are on an onslaught of people who own cars. It's like I don't know if they just trying to make it expensive or they like, you know what? We just gonna build up our city on the backs of those who drive because it's like out of control. When you look at how they do people, you look at how they do the car. Like I said, with the cameras and speed cameras, exhaust cameras, red light cameras. Now they trying to have the bus lane cameras, also give you bus lane tickets and parking tickets. It's crazy out here, B.
It is crazy because then you'll still get the squeeze Benzes of the world blowing past you at like, you know, mock Jesus to basically, to be put on YouTube with no tickets whatsoever. So it's crazy how that works out.
And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be part of my cold start today too. I saw a lot of things this weekend that I'm going to get into in the driver's etiquette, but it's definitely going to be about that. The squeeze Benzes, the SRT lens, and all these other kids. It's like, even though they're doing it, right, and it's looking crazy. I saw one just a little while ago. They had some dude named M-Box or something like that in the back seat of the car. And he's driving around. They all are what they call swimmers. They all driving around, and they're in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the Grand Central. And as they cut over, they crash into each other. One slides off the road. Other one, airbags come out. He's stuck on the side of the road because the car won't move. And they all just bounced. And it's like, what are they doing? They ruining these cars. We finding more of them in the crash lot than you will in the regular thing, but it's crazy. Shout to Seneca. He said if they cared about speed, they would put up speed bumps. Cameras are just a money grab. It's a fact. And shout to SP. He said, sad to say, but laws are only in place for the people who follow them. The people who don't break the law are the ones who pay the most. Shout to Seneca. He said, the president of the DOT lost his girlfriend to a car guy. That is hilarious.
Yo, I mean, he's not wrong. Yo, but you know what, though? You're not wrong, though. He's like, you know what? I'm going to make everyone pay for this.
He said, I'm going to make everybody pay for this. And I'm buying it, too. That's ridiculous, but it's true. It's got to be true.
No, but like that, but it is crazy. And I could even give an example. Yesterday, not even yesterday, this entire week, I have noticed that you see more undercovers out and about just pulling people over. I know this because your boy got popped. So, pause.
They
So
got you?
yeah, but I was able to kind of like, finesse my way out of the situation. But needless to say, Green Acres Mall is a lot more hotter than it needs to be.
Explain that to me.
Oh, so they basically okay for whatever the reason there. Green Acres Mall has a lot of undercover D-boys just cruising around the parking lots now.
Okay.
And just kind of just reading and scanning everyone's plates and everything like that.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason, and then like once I literally left Target just to get a couple of things. I'm leaving Target, hop in the V, and I see this blacked out Charger following me, and I'm like, all right, well, I know what time it is.
Right.
Already got the windows down, hands on the wheel. Like, all right, well, don't want to be on the 10 o'clock news.
Right.
And they're like, well, we just want to check your info real quick. I'm just like, yo, there has got to be no crime going on right now.
Nah, you can't say that. Remember that? I think about 3 weeks ago or a month ago, I think one of the kids coming out of there, he stabbed a whole bunch of people, and I think he stabbed like 2 people.
Oh, damn!
Coming out of the Macy's on the back side of the parking lot over there. Yeah, it's been crimes over there though. People been breaking into people's cars and stuff like that over there. Yeah, it's been going down over there.
Oh,
so at least you know now.
At least I know now. I will take that drive to Roosevelt and call it a day.
And you gotta be careful in Roosevelt too.
Like,
they following you to your car after you make a couple purchases, and they busting your window or sticking a gun in your face.
I look at it and be like, listen, if y'all think anything else, I'll be surprised. Like, your boy's tapped.
Word. It is what it is. Well, with that being said, Jay, we appreciate you for calling in, my guy.
Yes, sir. What did you say, everyone? Please drive safe out here. Enjoy your bills. It's a good day to drive.
Oh, and I got a couple other things, but we'll talk about that behind the scenes, kid. Yo, appreciate you, Jay, for tuning in and calling in, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. We're gonna keep it produce you. All right. Shout to my guy Jay, man. Shout to Jay for tuning in, calling in. Let me put the number at the bottom just if you want to give us a call. 516-206-0711. Don't forget, you call up Rally Radio if you have an opinion. You can give us a holler. With that being said, we jumping right back into the show. Weekly Specs. There's been a lot of things going on. It looks like Willow Springs International Raceway is being sold to a private equity firm. Now, there's been an onslaught of racetracks, drag strips, and everything going on for the past couple of years. And it looks like everywhere that any kind of motorsport is going on, it looks like it's either being sold, it's the threat of it being sold, or it's for sale. You know what I mean? And we've seen a lot of these go down, and it looks like Willow Springs now is another one. So Willow Springs, after 62 years of family ownership, the California racetrack has a new owner. It's a private equity. It's a Boston private equity firm named Cross Harbor Capital, partners that specializes in property turnarounds for commercial real estate in its closing stages of purchasing the iconic racetrack. So right there, we already know what's going on. It looks like Willow Springs is going to be our next racetrack that's going to be turned to either a place where they keep crash cars, or it's going to be some sort of real estate. Now, the sad part about this is that it is a real heritage. It's a lot of racing heritage in this place. As a matter of fact, in cars, if any like my son, I sit there and watch cars with him. They named it Radiator Springs. That's kind of where they got the name from for this from this racetrack. And I mean, this racetrack has been around since 1953. I mean, like, that's a little wild. It was listed for sale last year after 62 years under the care of Bill Huff and his family. Once Huff passed away in 2015, at which point the family continued running the track the way he always did. Cheap, no frills, frozen in time, and perhaps more relevant to this moment against all financial sense, the iconic racetrack transported as many fans to a time when American road racing was producing legendary drivers who took on Europe's finest. a time when names like Ken Miles were permanent fixtures at Willow. So we talking about a place where there was so many different iconic races, and now it's up for sale. And we've seen this before. We've seen Englishtown go up like this. And honest opinion, I think Laguna Seca is next. Now, mind you, this is in LA. This is in Los Angeles. But we losing another track. And it's like either the taxes are too much or it's just not worth keeping, but we are running out of room to practice what we like to do legally. And I mean, it's starting to get scary out there. When you start looking around, you're starting to see a lot of the drag strips, or like I said, a lot of the racetracks are going down. And some of them, they're just hidden from plain view. They got weeds growing over them. I mean, if I could have my way, man, if I had a couple million, I'd probably purchase one of these myself and do something with it, because I hate to see these tracks go down.
Give me your fucking money.
It is what it is. Shout out to everybody tuned in, paying attention. You already know what it is, man. So, with that being said, we also got a couple other things we're going to talk about here in this weekly specs. It looks like North Carolina State Highway Patrol is bringing back the Mustang. Now, they're not the first. It looks like Florida was the first. We brought that to you a couple weeks ago. Florida is going, well, they was actually going for their Mustang as well. But now it looks like North Carolina's following suit, and they're going to have their highway patrol dominate their highways with the Ford Mustang out there. So, I don't know. Very interesting. I remember when I was a kid, used to see the state trooper like pulled over to the side or something like that. And you would be intimidated, like, and especially if they had like a Mustang or something, you would see them, you'd be like, oh man, or Camaro. They'd be like, oh man, nobody could run from them. And I seen videos that say otherwise now. At the end of the day, I hope they putting power in them. I hope they ain't just getting them stock and they driving them. I know they're not gonna just have a stock Ford Mustang, but at the end of the day, I just don't know if these cars I mean, at the end of the day, they look nice. I guess you're going to need them, but I don't know if they catching anybody in them things. But they saying it's going to have the 5-liter Coyote V8, 480 horsepower, 450 pounds of torque, stock, Mustang GT that we know. But just the question is, can they catch them criminals out there, man? It's going to be very interesting to say the least. That, to me, is one of those kind of things you say, is it really worth it? I don't know. Especially for a place like North Carolina. I don't know too many people that's going on a statewide run, especially over there, because once they catch you, it's over. Once they catch you, they like, oh, you know what? We one of them states we could, what they call Commonwealth state, that we could just kind of do whatever we want with you. So now I'm good. I'm doing the speed limit through North Carolina and Virginia. I'm sorry. I don't want to play with either one of them states, man. It is what it is. But with that being said, shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. Don't forget, drop a like, drop a comment so we can shout you out. You already know what it is. We appreciate everybody who tunes in here. With that being said, Rally Radio's in the building. And it's something I wanted to talk about. We're going to bring driver's etiquette up a little bit. We're going to bring it up a little early, y'all, because I kind of saw something that I just didn't really understand, or that, not that I didn't understand it, but we have it over here. But is there a such thing as like etiquette when you getting it on the highway? We'll see. Let's get to it, y'all. You know how we get down. Let's get to this driver's etiquette.
Driver's etiquette. Because sometimes you got to get this off your chest.
What's going on, y'all? We back. Driver's etiquette. So I was watching YouTube the other day. I'm an avid YouTube watcher. If you're watching me on YouTube, appreciate you. Don't forget, if you're not looking at us on YouTube, you can find us on YouTube at Rally Radio Podcast. YouTube at Rally Radio Podcast. We're going to put it down there at the bottom so everybody can find us. If you're looking at us on any other social media or any other place, listening to us in any other place, don't forget, this is where you can find us also, YouTube at Rally Radio Podcast. So I'm an avid YouTube watcher, and I happened to come across a donut video that I was watching. And they was actually, the Canjo races. And they talked about, how iconic the Canjo races was and highway racing is over there in Japan. Shout to my guy Draco's in the building. And shout to my guy Sha tuned in. What's going on, y'all? So as I was watching this, they getting into how, A lot of street racing and things like that was going on over there. Shout to my guy, Shot. It's my brother right there. What's going on, man? So, as they was, watching this Kanjo racing thing, it looks like Japan is cracking down crazy on any kind of highway action out there, right? They got cameras everywhere. When I say cameras, they were using cameras everywhere, not just still cameras too, cameras that follow. It looks like these cameras also had AI that if they get a picture of your ear, that's just what they said. They get a picture of your ear, it could make up your whole face, find your social media, and they'd be at your house the next morning. So they said instead of the police actually dealing with this, what they do is they let the cameras catch you, let you think you got home, follow you all the way home, and they come knock on your door the next day, and they take your car and lock you up. And I was like, yo. Now imagine how many laws that's kind of violating, and not for nothing, Japan law and United States law are two different things, but it just goes to show like the lengths that some of these people are willing to go. Of the privacy laws there has to be crazy. Like, what kind of privacy laws are they breaking? But as I watched it, you watch the Kanjo guys, you got the Civic bubbles out there, you had all type of cars, and they're just running on the highway. And I wouldn't say that at this time they was wilding. It looked like to me they just was having fun. Shout to Draco. He said helmets on the wing, and that's what I'm saying. They was ready to go. Not only did they have helmets on, I believe the guy that he was with put a Jason mask on, a gold Jason mask. That was crazy. I was like, it looks nuts. But it just goes to show like Japan is really cracking down out there. And I don't know if it's just on the tuner cars. I feel like it's also like the tuning shops. Like, it's actually crazy. Shout to Shop. He said they started the Jason mask behind the wheel thing. U.S. folks won't stand for it. So it's like, at the end of the day, watching the Kanjo, and I'm watching them, and they running, and they having their fun or whatever. And then I guess they was getting chased, so they pull off or whatever. And I started to think, right, is there etiquette to highway racing? Because over here, it didn't look no different than what they doing over here with the swimming and all of that. It just looked like it has more rules. Like, you just can't do anything that you want to do out there in Japan. It's like it has to be sanctioned by the streets. Where swimming, it's a little different. Like, I'm watching these guys, and it's like, it's almost crazy how many views they get. And they're getting like 1 million views a video. It's like, you can see why they doing it. Because at the end of the day, people are tuning in, people are watching. Even as it came across my screen, because I have nothing but automotive car channels that come through my YouTube. And because that's an automotive channel, it came through. And I'm watching it, and I'm just like, these dudes are risking their lives, though. And when I say risking their life, I mean, not only theirs. I've watched videos of them making people crash. Like, they cut in between two cars, another car lose it and crash into a wall or crash. And I'm just like, I don't understand, like, is there like some sort of etiquette that it doesn't happen as much in Japan? Don't get me wrong, I believe it does happen, but in the United States, this is happening at a silly level. And like you say, you think about a Squeeze Benz and all these other kind of cats. It's like, when you look at the kind of views they got, the kind of merch they were selling and things of that nature, it's like they smacking these cars into a wall. And at the end of the day, people are tuned in every week. When I went over one of their channels, I was like, looking at all the views that they get, and I'm just like, wow, man, they getting 400,000 views in 2 days. And it's like, I don't know. This is like, it's like a real reckless behavior. Not only that, it's like they totaling these cars. They crashing these cars and totaling, especially with the BMWs. I feel like I wouldn't want to buy no used BMW right now, because it's a great chance that they done smacked this thing into a wall and they done tried to have it fixed just so they could sell it. Shout out to my guy Draco. He said in Japan, they don't wild out with too many civilians on the road. Okay, that's a fact, because even when they was doing this Kanjo, it was like at like 2 in the morning or like 3 in the morning. And then they took it out the city and they went to the mountains. And I was like, well, that's probably what Japan wants, because obviously I feel like automotive culture is woven into Japan. It's like there's no way around it, especially when it comes to their aftermarket and things. It's just a crazy thing, man. It's just a crazy thing when I watch how they do it versus how we do it over here in America. And it's like this swim thing is like, to me, it's crazy. I watch them, they weaving in and out of standstill traffic. And I'm trying to understand what's the draw for that. Shout out to my guy Shai. He said our culture is infectious. Kanjo racing is more like late night. These swim guys just being stupid for views, for bread. That's a fact. And shout out to Drake. He said also like Midnight Club. It's a big disgrace if you hit a civilian. You could get kicked out the crew. And that's what I'm saying. But at that point, is that the difference? The fact that they have etiquette? And is there a way we could probably do etiquette here? Or is this something we just need to get rid of? Like, I look at it, and they all got the same cars. I swear. And it's like these are the reasons why a lot of these cars have bad names. You have the Dodge Charger. I didn't see too many challenges, but I did see a lot of Chargers, right? The G37. Almost all Beamers, especially some of these newer 63 Benzes and stuff like that. And I mean, these cars are not cheap. By a long shot. We talking about cars in excess of 80,000 to 100,000 and more. And they just driving through the traffic. It just leads me to believe, man, that we cannot continue to do this and still like keep these cars around. Shout to Seneca. He said they have no crew, so a crash brings them more views / more money. And that's the thing. It's like people are really tuned in. They're really tuned into a lot of this stuff. It's like, don't get me wrong. This year, Rally Radio, we got a couple things that we're going to be outside doing. We're going to be definitely finishing or getting to the finish line of the build of the CRX that we're doing. Type R got some things. We're gonna have some fun in the streets. And I got another build that I'm trying to line up to get to the driveway to show everybody. But it's like gone are the days of being a builder. It's like, I guess they just want to see you just wild out, dumb out, and crash. I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's what makes YouTube great. I guess you can find anything that you want to look at. But I just think that that right there is killing car culture all in itself. And they don't care. They think this is car culture for them. I just find it crazy. Shout to Draco. He said these kids in the U.S. have no code. They just drive to drive. And shout to Drake. He said, and a good percentage of them can't drive. And that's another thing. It's how they drive. It's like you're trying to squeeze between two cars. Like, what are you doing? Like, when I seen stuff like that, I was like, yo, like, there's no way they didn't clip a car. And it looked like the dude squeezed Benz, got out. He right back to it again. So it's like, what did he really learn? And I'm like, they're not going to be happy until they really hurt somebody or kill somebody. And then it's like, you know what? We shutting this all down. And I'm telling you, that's where we going. I know they don't care. But the more I look at like that side of the automotive world, I just know, to me, that's the dark side. It's not really a place where I want to be. I think about it when I was younger. We used to get our drive on and stuff like that. I'm not going to say we didn't get our little weave on here and there. But the things that some of these kids are doing, you like, bruh, you weaving in and out of two cars that are doing 5 miles an hour, you doing 30. Like, anybody move, you already know it's going to be a crazy thing. Shout to my guy, JT, in the building. Appreciate you. He said, yo, what's good? So, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. The more I seen how they're crashing these cars, I'm like, they crashing them up. No wonder they stealing Hellcats at a crazy rate, because they crashing them. They crashing them. They need parts to fix them. So they could, and that's another thing. The fact that these cars are high on the theft list. I've seen these kids show up for a Hellcat and push it up the street because they wanted to steal it. It's just getting crazy out here, man. I just want to get everybody's take on it. Drop it in the comments below. What's your thoughts? Do you feel like there is a difference between Kanjo racing, Wangan Japanese highway racing, and United States swimming? Is it the code? Like I started to look at it, a lot of the different things, because we go back to Tokyo Extreme Racer. So you go back to a lot of those option videos, and they were showing these guys on the highway, and they were doing other things. They were actually timing themselves, like time attack. They were doing all kind of stuff just to, see how fast they going and how fast they getting through. It's just real crazy. Shout out to Seneca. They said 340i became the new Civic. So these kids are grabbing them up, down pipes and tune. Instant car with too much power for inexperienced drivers. And shout out to JT. He said, yo, these vids on TikTok weaving in and out of cars, and they doing it on the cross island of belt. Right. And I believe the first video that this dude Squeeze Benz put up, he was like, oh, I'm going to take the Jackie Robinson new record. Like, y'all don't understand, like this right here, those are the kind of things that kill car culture. And my thing is, if you're gonna do it, you don't tape it. They're taping it. They putting it out there to the people. Oh, look, this is what we do. And I don't know if they think that makes them look. I was watching this kid named SRT Len, and the cops happened to pull up on him at a car meet. Pulled up on him. Hey, man, how you doing? Boom. Next thing they snatch him out of his car. They locking him up. He calling his mama. He's like, yo, this is crazy. He calling his mother. He's like, oh, I didn't do anything. They like, nah, we got footage of you. We looking at your footage. This is you, right? It looks like this is the same charger. And I'm just like, why would this kid like even think that they not paying attention like that? And then if you could get to the I don't care and you wearing the Pooh Shiesty mask over your face, it's that whole side of car culture. We failed them as being their elders when it comes to teaching them about autos. We failed them. Because if they believe that this is the fun thing, then they don't know what having fun with autos really is. Especially when you could go all out. You put the car on the track, you could go all out. They don't even look like they're trying to do that, man. It's very interesting, man. Driver's etiquette. Just let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you really believe that the Kanjo racing is better, or that the swimming, I just didn't see I was watching them. I'm like, all of this money that you spending on these cars to just, I don't know. After that, I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to crash this thing. I think about we was all coming back from the Enter the Dragon rally we drove down to the Dragon's Tail. We did the Gutterball rally, Enter the Dragon to the Dragon's Tail. As we on our way back, I'm driving the Type R, and there's a guy in a Kia Stinger, right? A Kia Stinger. Let me just get a real quick laugh at it. But he's driving this Kia Stinger, and he's actually like weaving in and out, pulling up, this, that, and the third. Traffic, it was no traffic at that point. I ran with him for a little minute. Let's say he got up to a cool 80, and then I was like, all right, let me break it back down. And it's like we get up to traffic, start going in and out, boom, 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 start going in and out. And I'm just like, I don't want to crash this car, B. Like, I don't want to make that. And shout to Clarence because he couldn't hang with us. We wasn't running with him. We did run on him for a little while. But it was like, I said, let me slow down. It's like, I don't know, the older I got, the more it's like, nah, it's not worth the risk sometimes. You feel what I'm saying? Shout to Aaron Roy. I know you remember that stick. He couldn't hang with us, but I just was like, that's why I was like holding back. I'm like, bro, I just got this Type R, man. I don't know, man. It's just it's so many, like, I guess at one point you just like put all that stuff in the back of your head, because we had driven so much by that time we got there, because we was on the Dragon's Tail and we had spent the whole day out there just driving and drive. And trust me, and there's so many different runs we didn't do that. We will be lining up this year. So don't forget, check out for the dates, because we're going to be putting them back. Shout out to Aaron Roy. He said that was when we get back to D.C. Yes, that's when we got around D.C. area. And I was like, yo, I think they got cameras out here and all that too. But we did so much driving. I mean, and when we went out there, it was like, it was raining. We didn't have the greatest weather, but we still enjoyed ourselves. And I will say, man, that's the kind of road that I would love to drive every day. If I had to go through that road to get to work and then go through that road to get home, it would be perfect. Shout to, he said that Stinger helped wake us up. That's a fact. That's a fact. And then had the nerve. He looking like he could make it happen. We drive and he looking at us like this. He's like, I said, yo, this cat is bugging. I said, listen, he don't know. But at the same time, it's like we had our little bit of fun, but we wasn't trying to hurt nobody either. Like once we got to a point, it was like, nah, if this dude gonna keep going, let him go ahead. But it was a great run. But I just feel there's a limit to it. Like once, like, and I always say this here at Rally Radio, once we start risking other people's lives and so forth, I'm good. You know, let them go ahead, man. You know what I mean? But shout out to everybody who tuned in, paying attention. Aaron Raw he just made me really think about it. We had a good time. Actually, we had a great time on that 2025. Not 2025. 20. I think that was 2022. 2022. Enter the Dragon Rally. That was great. And to really get out there, and now that we know all the secrets, there's so many other roads out there that we are going to visit when we go out there this time around. Don't forget, drop a like, drop a comment so we can shout you out. You already know what it is, man. It's the bearded one in the building. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Shout to my guy, Reeves. He is tuned in as well. Shout to my guy, Reeves. That was actually, I'm telling you, Aaron is right, though. He did wake us up. Shout to Clarence. He said, taking me back to the first run of Florida. Man, that needs to happen. That was another good run. For those that haven't ever taken part in a gutter ball rally, it is definitely fun. It pushes you, though, but it's fun. And we got a couple other things planned out for that. I'm telling you, stay tuned. We're going to be putting up some dates. We already did a little bit of homework. And it looks like also Import Fest, we're going to do our Northern Exposure run. This is coming up around July 11th to the 13th. We're going to announce a lot of different runs that we're going to have coming up. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. We appreciate everybody who's tuning in. Don't forget, drop a like, drop a comment so we can shout you out. And don't forget, follow us on YouTube at Rally Radio Podcast. YouTube at Rally Radio Podcast. We are in the building. We appreciate everybody who's tuning in. You already know what it is. We're going to jump right into our next little segment that we got coming up here. This is our little tech talk segment. You know, we like to get in like this because we are the automotive community. We'll be right back. Let's get it.
It's Tech Talk with Pop the Bearded One.
We back in the building. This is Tech Talk. You know how we do. This is where we get down and we like to talk about our car things that's going on. It looks like Mercedes-Benz will be putting the V8s back in a C63s. It looks like it's going down. Shout out to everybody who's paying attention. You know, there was a point where they were talking about they're going full electric. Are we going to go 4 cylinders and 6 cylinders? It looked like they stopped that crazy talk. And now they're going to be getting back to the 8s and the 12s, which is a good thing. Now, as my homeboy S.I. Sean would say if he was here, he wouldn't even care because at the end of the day, he's like, it's an automatic car. However, it still says that they failed on this plug-in EV hybrid and all of this 4-cylinder garbage that they was talking. And they're actually going to put the V8s back in the cars by 2026. A report claims anyway. Anonymous sources, but you know how that goes. A lot of times, especially when it comes to the automotive world, those anonymous sources be those execs putting it out to the law in the magazines. But a new report from Autocar, citing anonymous sources within the German brand, claims that a new 8-cylinder AMG motor is coming for various models. The most notable one for now being the C63 that's currently motivated by a 4-cylinder turbocharged plug-in hybrid powertrain. Thumbs down. Nobody cares about that. But the new V8 is reportedly pegged to first see the light in the upcoming AMG CLE 63, which has been spotted in camouflage from boasting a characteristic 8-cylinder sound and then roll out to other models. Let's go. And that's another thing we're going to talk about here too. Are we winning this electric vehicle to gas vehicle war that we got going on out here? It is what it is. I say it's war. I don't care what nobody says. War. You know what I mean? But are we winning it? Are we winning it? I think so. You're starting to see a lot of these companies that was trying to be the forefront as far as going electric. Remember, Volvo was talking about they're going full electric. Now look at them. Now look, they like, oh, we're going to go back to the gas engines for a little while. You got Mini, who also said that, you know what? We're going to go EV. They're going back to gas. Look at Mercedes-Benz. They EQUS, the Equus is actually getting a bad rap right now, and it's ugly. But now it looks like they're going back to the V8s. So it's going to be very interesting here, man. With that being said, are we winning it? I think we actually fighting back. I don't know how long we could keep this up, but I will say that it looks like we knocking them down for now. But with that being said, you still have a lot of EV cars that are still out here outside of Tesla. It looks like Tesla market is falling down. I guess because of what Elon is doing over there in the office. But are they great cars? I don't think so. And it looks like Lucid's Rivian CEO stepped down. And now they're putting another CEO in there because it looks like they're putting out another car. And it seems to be that this car won't do any good. Who knows? It looks like they're fighting an uphill battle now. And that's good because at the end of the day, you shouldn't force people to buy electric vehicles. You should have your choice. Period. End story. And it looks like, they actually listening to that. So with that being said, we got to look at that. Is it that we're winning this battle? Or is it that the EVs are giving up? And you know what I always say? When it comes down to autos and things like that, a lot of those geeks and things like that couldn't wait to get their hands. And a lot of them are tuners. Let's keep it a buck. A lot of the guys that are tuning the cars, they are geeks. They know how to work the computer, but they also understand mainly how a car works. These guys with electric vehicles, they just straight up geeks. They just want to dial up some power in their laptop and call it a day. And they want to be considered car guys. And we like this. That's not you. You didn't turn a wrench. You don't know nothing about what you're doing or what's going on up under here. You only know about this electric motor. So they have been trying to compete and keep up. And it's like, it's not happening. It's not happening. Nobody wants your little electric power box that you call a motor over here with what we call a gas pedal. You call an accelerator. Nobody wants it. And at the end of the day, it's coming to fruition because they're damn near giving away a lot of these electric vehicles in lease, and they can't. They can't even get rid of them. Look at Ford. The Ford F-150 Lightning, they took $10,000 off the sticker price, and they said if you buy one, we will send somebody to the house to hook up a charge port to your house so you don't never got to worry about it. People still ain't buying. People are buying these Teslas, but now the word is getting out about how dangerous they really can be. And when I say Tesla's being dangerous, I'm not even talking really so much on the electric vehicle side, but the fact that this car has been able to slide through with a lot of the regulations that a lot of other electric cars companies are just putting on their cars, i.e. the self-driving. This thing is taking people out left and right. And if you think about it, they've had more recalls than any other brand outside of Ford. Very interesting. But are we winning it? I think we're winning it. I think ultimately, once the laws are starting to change as far as give people choice, you see where it's going. And when the laws were, we won't give you no choice, you see who was winning. And at that point, a lot of the car guys I knew, what was we doing? We going back to the older car. You know what? You're not going to get me to get this car that I don't want. We're going back to the older vehicles. And a lot of us did that. Because even me, I refuse. I don't care what they say. I don't care how they try to, you know what? We're going to force you or you can't drive this car then I'll walk. How's that? I'll take the train and I'll walk. But it is what it is. I refuse to be out here driving around in some of these electric vehicles, man. To me, it's no good, man. But it is what it is. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You know how we get down, man. It's the bearded one in the building. Shout out to everybody who's rocking with us thus far, man. Appreciate y'all greatly. You already know what it is, man. We got a couple other things we're going to talk about when we get up out of here for the day. We ain't going to take up everybody's Saturday because it's beautiful outside. Shout out to Reach. He said I left New York because of that. Man, please. If I was thinking I would leave for a couple other reasons too, but you are 100% right. Shout to Reeps, said vehicular freedom. Shout to Reeps, he just came up with another shirt. We're going to actually coin that. We're going to put it on a t-shirt. We're going to sell it. Shout to my guy, man. Shout to Reeps for tuning in. With that being said, we're going to jump right into our hot mods. We got a lot of things going on out here with the hot mods. It's definitely crazy out here. Let's get to it, y'all.
Mods, the newest and freshest. Modifications, parts, and fashion. Only on Rally Radio.
All right now. So for those that don't know, it looks like Forza is coming to the PS5. Now we talked about this a little bit. All you gamers out there, all y'all talking reckless about, you know what? Mbox and or Xbox and The Forza versus Gran Turismo. We about to see what all this noise is about. Shout the PlayStation for, I don't know, or for that matter, Microsoft is saying, you know what? We're going to put this on PlayStation. So Forza Horizon 5 hits PlayStation on April 29th with enhanced graphics for the PS5 Pro. Now, that's actually the more interesting part. It looks like PS5 is going to look great, but for PS5 Pro, it's going to be tremendous. They're going to, big it up or whatever. But unfortunately, I'm not buying no other PS5. So if that being said,
keep the change, you filthy animal.
Look, if you can't give me what I need, then I need you to get it out of here. But I will say at the end of the day, I'm looking forward to it. A lot of these guys, especially the ones in our group, they be talking crazy. They like, build these cars. Now we're going to build them on the PlayStation. We're going to see what it's about because I'm definitely getting this. We're going to see what it is. Shout to my guy, Draco. He said, I'm going to get a PS5 now. Mod up. Let's go. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. And that's another thing I do like about the Forza game, Horizon game, is that they do be having way more cars to choose from, I feel like. I like the barn finds thing too when it comes to the Forza Horizon. Like you found the barn find, you get to build it up. I love that, actually. If Gran Turismo could put that in there, it'd be great. Shout to Reeves. The game is Forza Horizon 5. It's going to be on the PS5. It's going to be crazy. Like I said, for car guys, you already know. That's the crazy part. Like, you're like, you still play a PS5 with them? Yeah, if it's a car game, yeah. I love it. It is what it is. And these things are so they so advanced. It's like you can't really sit there and say you like some of the stuff you're learning from, but can't wait, man. And for hot mods, this is actually interesting too. How many of you guys, right? And car guys and car girls out there actually wanted a gated shifter for your car? Now, the first car that I'd ever seen with that had to be the Lamborghini Diablo SV gated shift. And I mean, I was young then, and I didn't understand, the premise of it. Like, I understood, you put it in the gears or whatever, but when I started driving my CRX was my first manual car that I owned. And when I first started driving it, I'm like, wow, you really got to find these gears. And it's like, you got your little gear find at the top of the shift knob, pause. But at the end of the day, it started to become natural. You find first, second, third, fourth. And I don't know how many of y'all done missed shifts on the way down and tried, and I couldn't even find the gear. Won't happen now with the NA Miata. It looks like there's a gated shifter conversion kit, which was inspired by the Ferrari. Shout to Ryan Conforti. He is the man that has created this thing. He says similar conversion kits may be coming to other affordable sports cars too. Now that actually looks like something that I would love to see. But it looks like he saw the Ferrari 360. And then obviously the 360 Spider, 355, all of those had the gated shifts. And I believe, man, at the end of the day, that's like a stunt and a half. Like, you'll never miss with a gated shift. We can make that a rhyme. Shout to Reap. He said, I can't lie. I respect some of these games because of the learning aspect, but some people swear they're texting real life because it's so all right, Reeps, I got to say, you are 100% right. A lot of these guys feel like, you know what? I am a tech guy because I've tuned the car on Gran Turismo. You'd be like, bruh, it's not the same thing. They'd be like, yo, why you just don't go stage 4 turbo? What? But they do it. I can't front Reap, you 1,000% right. Shout to my God, man. Sometimes people do that, but it is what it is. Let them live. They call guys in training, man. Don't worry. They play the game. They're gonna realize that doesn't transition into real life, and they're gonna really be out there turning the wrench. So, however they get turned to it, I love it, man. But shout to Reeves, that is a fact, man. They do be turning like that. But I will say with the NA gated shifter, how many of y'all would love to have that in your car? I would love to have a gated shifter in my car for the Type R or the CRX. That'd be great. But I'm gonna tell you right now, shout to as we said, needs more NOS. But it is happening, man. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. You know how we get down here, man. With that being said, we're going to jump right into our Legends of Auto. Got a lot of things coming up, man. Obviously, got some other things. I don't want to take up y'all whole Saturday, so we just gonna jump into our next little segment we got going on. Let's get to it.
Legends of Auto. Real legends never die.
All right, y'all. You know how we get down, man. We are here in the building, and we gonna be talking about our legends of auto. Today, our legend of auto will be Willow Springs Raceway. Willow Springs International Motorsports Park. Willow Springs, commonly referred to as Willow Springs, is located in Willow Springs near Rosamond, California, about 80 miles north of LA. It's the oldest permanent road course in the United States. Could we say that again? It is the oldest permanent road course in the United States. Construction began in 1952 with an inaugural race held on November 23rd, 1953. The main track is 2.5 miles long road course that is unchanged from its original 1953 configuration. The elevation changes in high average speeds make it a favorite of many road racing drivers. Willow Springs hosted 2 NASCAR Grand National Series races in 1956 and 57, and the original road course, then known simply as Willow Springs Speedway, was won by Chuck Stevenson and Marvin Parks, respectively. The track also hosted 5 NASCAR Winston West Series events, the first 2 in 1955 and 56, and the other 3 between 84 and 86. Willow Springs also hosted 1 NASCAR Southwest Series all through there. The history is crazy. This place right here, and I feel because it's close to LA, this is one of the reasons why it is being done the way it's being done. And I hate that. I really do. I hate the fact that on top of equity firm taking it over, and we already know what they're going to do. They're going to knock it down. They're going to build buildings on it and call it a day. You lose the history. And the history is really where we are with this in the automotive world, because the future is actually scary, but the history is like the tradition, the things that we like to see. Like I said, like when it comes to racing, you talk about games being designed, like Gran Turismo has a Willow Springs in it, or they don't really call it that, but it is definitely fashioned after this track right here, because the sweeping turns, the long turns, and the fact that it's like in the middle of the desert, it's like there's nothing else. If you run off of a turn, you might as well just keep going and go home, because it ain't happening for you to turn around and come back. But with us seeing this, Willow Springs being torn down, it's crazy. Willow Springs is also used when they filmed a couple movies, The Love Bug and Ford versus Ferrari. Willow Springs had several TV shows there. Obviously, you already know Top Gear been there. Wheel of Dealers, for those that don't know what Wheel of Dealers is, that was one of my favorite shows before they started changing up all the hosts. When they had Ed that was like 6 feet, I think it was like 6'8", he looked like Dirk Nowitzki. That's when I loved the show. He would get all kind of different cars. They buy them for cheap. Ed would fix them, and then they sell them for a couple dollars. And I mean, he was fixing things that you wouldn't even bother, like, oh, you know, the dash doesn't light up the way it used to. He'd take the whole car apart just to get to the bulb and redo the light. Wheel of Dealers is a great show, not to get too far off the subject. And also, Jay Leno's Garage was also filmed here at Willow Springs. And the track was featured in the Japanese Best Motoring International American Tow video special. I mean, this thing has a lot of history. And like they said, it's in Willow Spring, tracks have been featured in video games, Need for Speed Pro Street, Need for Speed Shift, Gran Turismo 6, Gran Turismo Sport, Gran Turismo 7, Project Cars, and iRacing. So I guess if this track has been digitized and put in video games and put in iRacing, maybe it never dies because it's still here with us digitally. I don't think so, man. It does suck that it's got to go, but this is just the way of the world right now, man. But shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. That is our Legends of Auto today. Our Legends of Auto is Willow Springs International Raceway. Let's get it.
Legends of Auto. Real legends never die.
All right, y'all. We are back, man. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. You know how we get down. We have reached the end of the show, but you know it is not the end. It is not the end until we do one more segment, and this is my favorite. Let's get to it.
It's the Understeer,
What up?
where we like to ask, what the hell were you thinking?
Today's Understeer, for all the car guys and car girls that we have out here, it is going to Subaru. Subaru has to be the equivalent of the person that comes to a sporting event and just doesn't cheer. Like, you don't understand. Like, what are you doing here if you're not going to give it your best, right? Subaru is doing that. It looks like now Subaru is not only releasing another WRX trim with a TS spec, whatever, spec B, but at the end of the day, they still refuse to release an STI, and I don't understand. It looks like they're going to go electric with the STI, but what are they doing? Why are they doing their customers like this? I don't know. Subaru, to me, is one of those kind of car brands where it's like, you know what? We made a performance car, and we don't want to sell it to you. But you can look at it. Because now it looks like a lot of these cars are being produced in Japan. They have an ST210 STI, but however, it does come with a CVT automatic transmission. So I guess we ain't doing so bad. But at the same time, why are they not releasing an STI? Now, I believe that they're holding on because they're going to use it as one of their first electric vehicles. And if they do that, I believe that Subaru, to me, will be totally written off. But they cannot keep coming out with different specs of the same, or different trims of the same car with the same engine, with different seats, different wheels, or different brakes. It's starting to upset me, man. 271 horsepower, 258 foot-pounds of torque. Don't look like we're going to get to the 300 horsepower, 300 pounds of torque number with these guys anymore. And it looks like they have foregone their performance community. I feel sorry for anybody who really has a Subaru and is like, yeah, you know what? This is the kind of car that I want to build because the brand stands behind it. No, they do not, and they don't want you to have it. Shout to my guy Aaron Raw, who was an avid Subaru owner when they were great. And he says Subaru has lost their way. They've done more than that. They've actually lost their way, and they're trying to find their way into another market, which would probably be these electric vehicles. But in the meantime, they are looking bad to every car enthusiast out here, especially if you keep releasing all of these different trims. I mean, they got at least 4 or 5 trims of this 2025 WRX, from the WWRX ST, TS, WRX TS, Spec B, Spec. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. At one point, you got to say to yourself, we're going to give the people what they want. And if you're not going to give the people what they want, go to the other side and give them what they want. And don't try to entertain us and tell us that this is what we want. No, we don't want nothing with a CVT transmission. Sit. Honda understands. Listen, we want a Type R, want a Type R manual. The first time that they make those Type Rs automatic or electric, you can guarantee that they will not be selling as many as they once did. They can say what they want. Any company can say what they want. But you see how this is going for a lot of different companies. With that being said, Subaru, they are getting the Understeer this show.
It's the Understeer,
What up?
where we like to ask, what the hell were you thinking?
Shout out to my guy Reeves. She said, I just had to look up what gate it is. Sorry, I drive auto. Don't worry. Slowly but surely, we will convert you. We will help you. We will help you learn how to drive manual. With that being said, shout to everybody who's tuned in, paying attention. I appreciate everybody who tuned in today. Shout to my guy Reeves. Shout to my guy Aaron Raw. Shout to SP the Darn. Shout to my guy Seneca. Shout to Clarence Cuz. I see you tuned in. Shout to Draco. Shout to my guy JT. Shout to everybody who rocked with us. Shout to Shy. SP the Dawn. I know I shouted them already, but shout me. Shout to my guy Tiny. It's been one crazy show today, man. A lot to talk about, a lot of more things to see. Shout to my guy Tori Mackey. He tuned in as well. Shout to everybody. Shout to Mr. 2J. Shout to Vinny Sereno, Quentin, my cousin Chestnut. Shout to my guy Flip. Shout to Collector's Choice. Shout to my dude Shy. Shout to Tony Brown. Shout to everybody who rocked with us today. Now, don't forget, on our exhaust note, we will be outside. We got a lot of things going on, and we're going to pull up the calendar definitely, and let everybody know in the group, we got a lot of things getting ready to come up. Get your bowling shoes ready because there's no way you're going to support a place that's called Gutter Ball Rally and not be able to bowl. Get your bowling shoes. Get your cars ready as we getting outside. Our first speed and greet will be coming up. Our very first speed and greet will be coming up. Tune in for it. Don't forget, join the group. If you're not in the group thus far, you could join the group. Our group is called Gutter Ball Rally, the community Facebook group. We're going to put it right there at the bottom so you can see it. Don't forget, join the group. Join the group. That's where a lot of the information comes out of a lot of the things that we will be doing. Join the group. With that being said, we are here. We are in the building. Our first speed and greet will be Saturday, March 22nd. Saturday, March 22nd, we will be doing our first speed and greet. Get your car ready. 6 p.m., we're going to tell you the location if you're in the group, or we're going to send it through the text. You already know what it is. Shout to everybody who tuned in, who paid attention, who rocked with us today. You already know what it is. I appreciate everybody who tuned in every Saturday. This is how we get down, man. We are here. We are in the building. Appreciate everybody who rocked with us. We got some automotive news out here. We got a couple other things going on. So with that being said, until next week, I am out.
Drop the clutch, hit the gas. Rally Radio, where the fast life meets the fast lane.
Yeah.
You're now tuned into Bars and Hoops Radio. Where the world of hip hop and sports live.
Dropping the clutch and then I hit the gas. Wheels screeching, tires burning, I'm flying past. Gotta get home quick, don't wanna miss the class. They schooling you on whips and how to make them fast. Talking about everything from cars to plane. What's hot, what's next, and how to flip the game. They talk in my language, we speak the same. That whip talk complex, but yet they keep it plain. From the news, the interviews, they keep it cool. They give reviews, everything from parts to tools. Can't lose, come to whips, they not no fools. Don't miss the show, the start time is noon. The bearded one, S.I. Sean, they crazy though. You can't miss it, tune in to Rally Radio.
Where the fast life meets the fast lane.